Today, I can finally share something that has been months in the making. This is probably the biggest announcement in the history of Rippaverse Publishing. So, I'm gonna take my time because you deserve the full picture. Rippaverse Publishing has signed a sales and distribution agreement with Hachette Book Group. We are joining their third-party publisher slate effective July 6, 2026, this year. For those who do not know, Hachette Book Group is one of the largest general interest book publishers in the United States. They are part of Hachette Livre, and that's the third largest trade and educational publisher in the world. They handle sales and distribution for some of the most respected in the business: Abrams, Chronicle Books, Yen Press, Lonely Planet, and now Rippaverse Publishing joins that roster. Under this agreement, Hachette will handle all of our retail and wholesale sales and distribution worldwide. Bookstores, big box retailers, libraries, and wholesalers across every territory. Our direct-to-consumer channel through Rippaverse.com is not affected. It remains entirely ours. It's run by us exactly the way that it has been for the last 4 years. We are adding a completely new channel on top of what we have already built, so it's addition, not subtraction. So what does this actually mean for you? First, nothing has changed as far as ownership or direction. I'm still the sole owner of Rippaverse Publishing. The vision is still going to be fulfilled. Second, this is the reason we moved to a regular structured release format. A lot of you wondered why we made that change, and now you have the answer. As part of that preparation, though, you will see some small adjustments to specific release dates. Alpha Core number 3 in particular is going to move, or rather be pushed back slightly, so we can maximize its rollout into stores. Most of the other titles will keep their current dates, and we will be transparent about every adjustment as those get locked in. And third, of course, this is huge for the entirety of Rippaverse Publishing, because the additional reach we now have through the trade channels raises the visibility of every single title we publish. Now, let me explain just how big this actually is. Comics have lived primarily in what is called the direct market. The comic shop channel, it is its own ecosystem with its own specific economics, its own specific distribution pipeline. Up until now, shops that wanted to carry Rippaverse titles ordered directly from us through our own retailer portal. And we are grateful for every shop that has done that. With this deal, those same shops will also be able to access our books through their own traditional comic distribution channels, the same way they get most of the rest of their inventory. But this is even bigger than that. What this deal opens up for us beyond expanded comic shop access is something completely different: the trade channel, the much larger world of general bookstores, big box retailers, library systems, and wholesalers. We are talking about tens of thousands of points of sale. Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart, independent bookstores from coast to coast, public library systems across the entire country, school library systems, library wholesalers that supply tens of thousands of branches. I want to put a special emphasis on the library piece because I think a lot of people overlook just how big that is. Libraries are how an enormous number of Americans, especially young readers, discover books for the first time. Children's literature, in particular, lives or dies on library access. We have a children's book division now built specifically for that audience, and the fact that this deal puts our books into the library system is on its own a milestone. That alone will be a major announcement, and it is just one piece of what this is. Our catalog is going to continue to diversify. Our book types are expanding well beyond single issue and graphic novel formats, and that diversification is part of why Hachette's infrastructure is just so essential. Different markets, different readers, different buyers. We now have the partner to serve all of them under one roof. Yes, comic shops are part of this story, and they will have additional pathways to carry our books. The bigger picture and the much harder thing to do is what we are doing on the trade side. This is the Rippaverse stepping into the world of trade publishing alongside imprints that have been operating in this space for 50, 80, and in some cases hundreds of years. That is the magnitude of what we just did. Both our imprints are included. Rippaverse, the flagship shared universe, and Ripascend, which publishes creator-owned titles under the Rippaverse Publishing umbrella. Now I want to take a step back because the weight of this moment is best understood from the beginning. When I first started the Rippaverse, I never imagined it would become what it is. We opened with ISOM #1 in 2022. To date, that single book has moved over 100,000 units. It changed my life overnight. What started as a cool idea suddenly became a full-blown publishing operation, and I was in the position of, having to catch up to demand that we created. That is what the last several years have been about: catching up, building infrastructure, and learning how to do this at scale. There were growing pains. There was a lot to learn about running a company, about production, about logistics, about relationships. Anybody who tells you that they've built something like this without stumbling along the way is not being straight with you. And the growth was not just the company, it was me personally. I became a father during this period. My wife has been by my side through all of it, through the long nights, through the decisions that kept me up. I grew up alongside this company, and a lot of that growth happened because I had to. We never claimed to be infallible. We made our mistakes, we learned from them, and we kept moving. And somewhere along the way, it became obvious that we were playing a different game. We were building something with a different scope, a different pace, a different end state in mind. And somewhere in that process, I also stopped being a general content creator and became somebody running a real legitimate publishing company. With that shift came attention from collaborators, talent, partners, people who wanted in on what we were building. Over the last 2 years in particular, we were approached by a lot of different people, a lot of different companies, a lot of different opportunities. And to preserve the vision and integrity of what we were doing, we turned most of them down. We said no when a lot of others would have said yes. Those no's are part of the reason today's yes means what it means. Which brings me to why this deal and why Hachette Book Group specifically. HBG is a leader in this industry, and they have built an infrastructure refined over decades. When we sat down with them, it was clear that they just got it. They understood what the Rippaverse is and what we have built and why it has worked. They did not try to encroach on our vision. They did not try to reshape the company. In fact, they insisted that we maintain it. They wanted what makes Rippaverse what it is, because that is the value of the partnership from their side too. This is also worldwide. We have done a lot over the last years to accommodate our international audience, the shipping, the customs work, the regional adjustments. But this is the biggest upward movement we have ever been able to deliver for the international community. In markets across the world, your local retailers will now be able to stock and sell Rippaverse titles. You will not always have to order from us in Texas and wait for it across an ocean. That changes the equation entirely. And there is something else that opens up that I want to mention, even though it is not happening overnight: translation. Foreign language editions. The ability to place our books into major retailers across Europe, Latin America, and Asia in those countries' own languages, on their own shelves. That is not something that we are flipping a switch on this week. And I'm not going to pretend otherwise. It will take time and we will be deliberate about it, but the infrastructure to make that happen now exists for us in a way that simply did not a year ago. And the long-term implications of that are enormous. This industry has humbled me. You are always learning. You are really never done with that, and getting access to the perspective and expertise that a company like Hachette Book Group has built over decades is really, that's honestly just a blessing. They know things about markets and retailers and logistics and distribution that would take any of us a lifetime to figure out on our own. And that knowledge is going to elevate what we are doing in ways we will feel for a very long time. I want to close by thanking all of you. None of this happens without you. The people who supported ISOM #1, the people who kept coming back, the people who told a friend, the people who are still here right now, watching this video. You made this happen, every single one of you. And years from now, long after the noise around this announcement has faded, long after the social media cycles have moved on to whatever they move on to next, there will be readers walking into bookstores and libraries who have never heard of any of this, and they will see Rippaverse books on a shelf. They will pick it up because the cover caught their eye, or because a friend recommended it, or because their kid just asked for it. That is what this deal builds. That is the long arc, and that is why this matters. This is an unprecedented move for an independent publisher of our kind, and I do not take that for granted. We have a lot more details to share in the coming weeks, months ahead. There are additional announcements coming that I am very excited for you to hear about. Thank you so much for being part of this. We are just getting started.